What's going on, guys? B. Scott here with you. It's the first 4 downs, and on today's show, we got your quarterback sit starts for the week. Every single matchup we'll be going through ahead of the Week 1 NFL season. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first 4 downs. What's going on, guys, and welcome back. B. Scott here with you, and we're going over the quarterback sit starts ahead of Week 1 of the NFL season. So before we get into today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell. We'll have all your content throughout the whole season. Sit starts, waiver wires, all that good stuff. Lots of shorts, lots of funny things. So let's dive right into it. In the first match, we're going to be looking at Jacksonville Jaguars on the road against Houston Texans. Tyrod Taylor. It's impossible to start him. You just don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, the Jaguars were terrible on defense last year. I don't know if that's going to be much improved this season. And in a deeper league, you're just not starting Tyrod Taylor, plain and simple. So Trevor Lawrence, you possibly draft him as your QB2. He's a guy that should be starting here in a QB2 league. Not so sure if he's able to creep into that top 12 this week for me, but this is a great spot for him to get right. Was kind of shaky in the preseason, but honestly, the Houston Texans, terrible on defense last season, giving up 300-plus passing yards both times to the Jacksonville quarterbacks last season, and they're looking to be the worst team in the league. Houston is. And both these teams, albeit it's going to be tough to judge who wins and who loses here. But Trevor Lawrence, he's a guy that I could be starting here. Tyrod Taylor, there's just no way. The Los Angeles Chargers on the road against the Washington football team. Justin Herbert. This is a guy you're probably going to be starting just because you drafted him. I'll tell you what, it's a tough week. He's got a tough week against top 5 defense, arguably a top 1 or 2 defense. Last season, Washington football team gave up the third fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks and are looking to improve on their defense coming into this year. Only 6 games last season, a quarterback threw 2 or more touchdowns against the Washington football team, and only 2 games they allowed over 300 yards passing to a quarterback. So this is not a good spot for Justin Herbert this week. I get it, you're probably not sitting him, but it's going to be a tough spot. If you have a better option, I get it, but you're still going to be starting Justin Herbert. You draft him as your QB1. On the flip side, Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're not going to be starting him here. Los Angeles Chargers, defense. The healthiest it's going to be all season. Arguably an improved defense, considering all the injuries they have every single season. So this year, Derwin James being full healthy, ready to go. That secondary all healthy. I just can't see starting Ryan Fitzpatrick here in a tough matchup. He'll have some value down the road in stream weeks, but not this week. Seattle Seahawks on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. You're starting Russell Wilson, plain and simple. Through the first 8 weeks last season, Russell Wilson averaged over 300 passing yards and 3+ touchdowns through the first 8 weeks. And I get it, the Colts defense, they're good, and they only improved adding some players. So yes, it's a tough spot, and the Seahawks are on the road. But I think Russell Wilson, you're just not sitting him if you drafted him. On the flip side, Carson Wentz, healthy, hopefully ready for Week 1. The talks are he's practicing. He's going to be going. Seahawks defense, the secondary, wasn't that great last season. But I think that defense is much improved. Jamal Adams going to be fully healthy. The defense as a whole has upgraded a little bit. I don't know if I can start Carson Wentz this week, considering who knows how the pass catcher is going to work out. No T.Y. Hilton. You got Michael Pittman. Paris Campbell, already looking a little banged up. I don't know what his situation's going on. Carson Wentz this week, I just can't start him against the Seattle Seahawks team. I would be looking for better options. Hopefully you drafted just a better quarterback. So I'm out on Carson Wentz this week. The New York Jets on the road against Carolina Panthers. I don't want no part of any of these quarterbacks. I get it. Zach Wilson looked great in the preseason. Carolina's defense is a lot better than advertised here. Zach Wilson, his first start in the NFL, I just can't be plugging him in to my lineups in a tough matchup. On the flip side, Sam Darnold. I'm never trusting Sam Darnold anyway. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be starting him. I know it's a great spot for him. The Jets secondary is completely retooled, and who knows what that defense is really going to look like. But it's Sam Darnold, and I can't trust it just yet. I'd like to wait and see at least a week of him performing. He's got a lot of pass catchers. He's got a lot of weapons. Christian McCaffrey. But who knows if he's going to throw the ball 30, 40 times, or is Christian McCaffrey going to carry the ball 30 times? We don't really know, so that's why I'm not starting Sam Darnold or Zach Wilson in this matchup. The Vikings on the road against Cincinnati Bengals. Kirk Cousins, I'd be starting him here. Cincinnati Bengals defense is not great, and Kirk Cousins is a very consistent quarterback. Is he a top 12 quarterback this week? Maybe not. But he's definitely viable in QB2 options. If you're in deeper leagues, Kirk Cousins is an absolute guy that you're going to get consistent play out of here. I think Kirk Cousins is more than capable of 200, 250 pass yards, 2+ touchdowns here. So I think he'll be able to give you a good, solid week. It's not going to wow you, but he's got the weapons around him to make some plays, plain and simple. So Joe Burrow on the other side. Minnesota Vikings, the defense is healthy, and it should be much improved from last season. They were hurt a lot last year. This is a spot where they should be improved. But Joe Burrow at home, first game back. If you got to start him, I get it. He has a lot of offensive weapons too. And I think that offensive line is going to be a little better than people are giving him credit to, albeit it's still not going to be great. Joe Burrow last season was leading the league in pass attempts through the first 8-10 weeks. So it's like the opportunity for Burrow to be throwing passes is there. Is it a tough spot for him? Yes, it's a little tough. But I think with the volume alone, even with quarterbacks, Burrow could have a decent day here. So I got no problem starting both these quarterbacks in this matchup. They're both probably going to have pretty decent weeks. The Arizona Cardinals on the road against the Tennessee Titans. Quarterbacks, Kyler Murray. You're starting him if you drafted him. Obviously, he's a top 3 option. You're not going to sit him. Tennessee last season gave up 6th most passing yards and the 2nd most passing touchdowns. So definitely be starting Kyler Murray here in an obvious plus matchup. Possible shootout potential here. On the flip side, Ryan Tannehill. Arizona's defense is improved. And they were middle of the pack, a lot better than people thought. But I'll tell you right now, you're not sitting Ryan Tannehill since taking over the starting role for the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill, the number 2 quarterback in fantasy points, only behind Lamar Jackson. So you're obviously starting him here in what could be a potential shootout. San Francisco 49ers on the road against the Detroit Lions. There's not a quarterback I really like in this matchup. You're not starting Jared Goff against 49ers, plain and simple. And Jimmy G. He's an option to start, I guess, but I would be looking for higher upside guys. I think Detroit Lions, their defense is terrible. We already know this. But does that mean Raheem Mostert's going to have 150 yards? Does that mean that they're going to run 40, 50 times? Jimmy G possibly throw the ball 25, 30 times tops? I just don't like the matchup here for the quarterbacks. I'm staying away from the quarterbacks in this matchup. No Jimmy G, no Jared Goff. Hopefully you can find some better options. Pittsburgh Steelers on the road against the Buffalo Bills. Obviously this is a tough spot. You got 2 elite type defenses. Buffalo looking to improve the pass rush, and we know what you're going to get with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Josh Allen, quarterback. You're not sitting him. Plain and simple. Set it and forget it. He's the number 2 quarterback you drafted. You're never going to sit Josh Allen, no matter the matchup. So we can move on. Ben Roethlisberger in a tough matchup. But the Buffalo Bills defense did allow 7 quarterbacks to have over 300 yards last season. Of those 7 quarterbacks, 5 of those quarterbacks had 2 touchdowns in those games as well. So look for Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion, to actually have a pretty decent day here. And if you got to take a swing on Ben Roethlisberger being a starter quarterback this week in a potential shootout, Buffalo Bills, you never know. There could be a lot of points had in this game. I'll take Ben Roethlisberger as a potential decent start this week. Philadelphia Eagles on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. Both these quarterbacks are potential top 10 plays here. I think both these defenses are subpar. Atlanta's whole retooled secondary. We'll see how that shakes out. But Jalen Hurts and Matt Ryan, both, to me, this game smells shootout and potential top 10 for both these quarterbacks. So definitely be starting Jalen Hurts this week and Matt Ryan in 2+ matchups where there could be a lot of fantasy points to be had here. We don't really know what Miles Sanders and that backfield of the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be able to do. Obviously, we got Mike Davis on the other side. Are they going to be able to run the ball effectively? We don't know yet. What we do know is we have 2 quarterbacks that are going to sling the football. Plain and simple. Get both these guys in your lineup. Cleveland Browns on the road against Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, we don't even have to say it. Every week you're going to start him. It is what it is. Cleveland Browns defense is much improved. Hopefully the secondary can get even better. That's really their only partial struggle last season. But coming into this year, their defense is fully healthy, retooled with a lot of new defensive weapons. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. You're going to start Patrick Mahomes, plain and simple. It doesn't matter. Now on the flip side, Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns. If they want to be able to beat the Chiefs, I think they're going to have to run the ball heavy. But I think this has potential shootout here. I mean, Baker Mayfield, having all his pass catchers healthy. OBJ back on the field. Jarvis Landry, Rashad Higgins, Austin Hooper, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. All these guys, everybody's healthy to start the week. This could smell shootout. And Baker Mayfield is a guy that could have 300 yards, 2+ touchdowns here against Kansas City Chiefs defense that was okay, middle of the pack last season, but I'm not so sure they're going to be that much better. So definitely be firing up both these quarterbacks. They're both starts for me this week. Green Bay Packers on the road against the New Orleans Saints. Aaron Rodgers, you're obviously starting him if you draft him as a QB1. New Orleans Saints, their secondary was pretty good last year, but it's kind of retooled. They had a lot of players leaving free agency, and yes, they did put up a top 5 defense last year, but you're not sitting Aaron Rodgers here. He's a must start. On the flip side, Jameis Winston. I'm not going to be starting him here. In a matchup in which it could be shootout potential, Marquez Callaway, their one stud wide receiver, guess what? He's going to be guarded by Jair Alexander, and I don't see any solid production coming that way. Outside of that, who else is going to catch the ball for Jameis Winston? It's the Alvin Kamara show, in my opinion, this week if they want a chance to beat the Green Bay Packers. I'm just not starting Jameis Winston this week. I do think he's going to have lots of fantasy relevant value considering he plays the Atlanta Falcons twice. You just saw Tampa Bay. I mean, he's going to have value, just not this week. I'm not starting Jameis Winston. Denver Broncos on the road against the New York Giants. Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's got a lot of good matchups this year in spots where he'll be able to stream. But this week, going against the New York Football Giants, their defense is a lot better than advertised. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's that bad either. I wouldn't be starting him here because this is another game I'm just staying away altogether. Daniel Jones, I would never be starting Daniel Jones, even though there's going to be a couple games this season he'll have 300 yards. He's got all the weapons in the world to make this happen. I'm just not a believer, especially this week against the Denver defense that has improved a lot through this offseason. I'm staying away from the quarterbacks in this matchup. No Bridgewater. No Daniel Jones. Can't start him. The Miami Dolphins on the road against the New England Patriots. This is another game where I don't really want any parts of these quarterbacks. Mac Jones going into his first start against a very solid Miami defense. And on the flip side, Tua. Last year, didn't really play and be viable for fantasy, in my opinion, outstandingly. And now coming into this season, he's got a lot of high hopes. Don't get me wrong. But we just don't know yet. And I think New England's defense is going to be a lot better than advertised. Last season, they had a lot of opt-outs, injuries, things like that. This season coming in healthy, got a lot of players back. They're going to be a lot better than advertised. They just are. I think this is going to be a tough game, probably a low-scoring game, and I don't really want any parts of these quarterbacks. Chicago Bears on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. You're not starting Andy Dalton, plain and simple, especially this week against arguably the best defense in football. On the flip side, Matthew Stafford. He's a start for me. Chicago Bears defense, albeit is going to be above average. But the secondary, there's still a lot of question marks here with a lot of new players. First game action for Matthew Stafford here. I think he could have a pretty good day. I could see 250, 300 pass yards, a couple passing touchdowns. No problem here. In a matchup where I think the Rams are just going to be too much for the Chicago Bears. So Stafford, fire him up as a start this week. No thank you to Andy Dalton. Lastly, Baltimore Ravens on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. You're obviously starting Lamar Jackson. Plain and simple, Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, the defense, we hope, can finally put it together. But they're playing Lamar Jackson. Good luck stopping that. They lost their running back. Lamar Jackson's going to run so much, it's going to be insane. But anyway, Derek Carr, this is a guy I wouldn't be starting in this matchup either. Baltimore defense is pretty good still, and I wouldn't be starting Derek Carr. I'd be looking for other options. So obviously, start Lamar Jackson, sit Derek Carr. So that's it. That's been your QB sit starts for week 1 of the NFL season. So once again, if you like the video, subscribe, share, thumb, bell, all that good stuff, comment. If there's a quarterback you want to know about, drop in the comments. I'll be glad to give you my opinion. So for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.